Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Now, one of the most common questions that I get asked is, Neil, how do you find the time to release an episode every single day? And my answer is always the same. You know, that old saying, find something you love and you never have to work again. That's me. And after 20 years of being the IT guy, and I find myself in a position of talking with some of the most interesting people in technology around the world, and the work they're doing that's reshaping our world is something that I just remain passionate about. And talking tech and writing about technology for 16 to 17 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, honestly just doesn't feel like work to me. And I know that will sound a little bit crazy to a few people. But for example, just check out this for a great opportunity today. I'm going to be speaking with my old friend Ivan from Infobip, which was the first Croatian company to reach unicorn status, and also Neil Papworth, who back in 1992, as a 22-year-old software programmer in the UK, he's credited with sending the first ever SMS text message, and he did that from a computer to his colleague Richard Jarvis. So as we find ourselves at the 30th anniversary of the SMS, I want to learn more about that, the story behind it, and how Infobip fits into that milestone, and much more. But enough excitement and enthusiasm for me. Buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears directly into our conversation, and hopefully you enjoy it as much as I do. So a massive warm welcome back to the show, Ivan. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do, just for anyone that missed our last conversation, which I think was back in May?
Hi, Neil. I'll be very brief on that. I'm Ivan Ustic. I'm a Chief Business Officer of Infobip. Infobip is a global cloud communication platforms that powers tens of thousands of businesses to communicate with their customers using various channels and build specific tools to facilitate digital interactions between businesses and people.
And we're also joined by Neil Papworth, who is the sender of the first SMS 3 decades ago. I feel there's got to be a story there, but can you tell everyone a little about who you are and what you do too?
Yeah, well, I'm Neil Papworth. I sent the famous world's first text message 30 years ago. I worked in telecoms for quite a long time, something like 25 years getting on, something like that. A lot of that time was spent doing SMS related stuff, and then kind of 4G kind of stuff and things like that. But nowadays I'm kind of out of telecoms, and I haven't worked on text messaging for a while, and now I work in the cloud, as they say, with some of our public cloud vendors and also a private cloud vendor as well.
That's a great anecdote to drop at a dinner party or something, though, isn't it? You must have used it more than once, right?
I don't tend to, actually. It's and I have done only once or twice, and people just don't believe you anyway. So you can leave them with it and say, okay, you know, look it up after I'm gone. But you know, I don't ever get back to people and say, hey, did you look that thing up, just to say I'm telling the truth? But yeah, no, haven't had much luck with it, let's put it that way.
And Ivan, just to bring you into this, can you tell me more about the 30th anniversary of the SMS and how Infobip fits into this milestone too?
Yes, so Neil was the first person to send an SMS message, Merry Christmas. And that started the whole revolution on how we interact person to person. Infobip, however, was one of the first, if not first, company who enabled businesses to send messages to their customers. And although it kind of look trivial, it's not trivial at all, because there's a lot of compliance involved and also a lot of complexity, you know, because if you are like business anywhere on this planet and want to reach a person on another meridian, you actually, you know, need to route this message through many telco companies. So we needed to build that connectivity that would enable a business using simple line of code to send SMS to a person on the other part of the world. So having said that, we started like that. So we managed to connect all of this complex infrastructure and enable businesses to send messages. And we were large part of the history of business to person messaging, beginning with igniting that and building those systems to scaling it. I mean, last year we had over 350 billion interactions on our platform, and majority of that were SMSs. So we've seen since first business-to-person messages went through our systems, we've seen like exponential growth, and we still see growth year over year.
I think there's something beautiful in that, from Neil sending that first SMS message 30 years ago, saying Merry Christmas, to find ourselves at another Christmas 30 years later. And I'm curious, what do you see ahead in the future of SMS and other means of messaging for business purposes?
I think, first of all, there are some legendary technologies that represent foundational elements of how we communicate. So, I think telephone will never go out of fashion. We'll still talk. So voice is important.
Yeah.
Email is always there. And I think SMS is another important channel that I don't think it will disappear, because it is very critical. It enables short message communication, but the most important is linked to your registered phone number. That's almost like your own ID. And so that comes with certain privacy, and it comes with certain security standards. So I think SMS is here to stay. I think what we will see in the near future is much more what we call conversational messaging. So that means two ways, at least in the business sphere. So customers can communicate with businesses and send them responses to messages that they receive, and receive a response to their response. So meaning kind of starting to chat with businesses. So I think we will see that. So that when it comes to SMS, I think that's where we see a lot of growth, also in promotional messaging, because so far most of the messaging were like, I send you a notification, but that we see another area of growth of SMS in marketing or promotional messages. And a lot of your listeners have probably received a bunch of messages now around Black Friday to promote different products or offer them discounts. So those are still sources of growth. Now, going back, on the question, what's the future of messaging in a broader sense? Yeah. I think there were many channels that follow the same pattern as SMS. So take something like WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, Google Business Messaging, even RCS. So the first phase, like from the moment when Neil sent the first message to the moment when we enabled businesses to send messages to people, there is kind of an era of person-to-person messaging expansion. So if you look at all of these chat apps, they offered free means as an alternative to SMS, where people could talk to each other. And then the second wave is when they then open these messages for businesses as a mean to monetize. And now what's ahead of us in that area is that, we're having much more channels like chat apps or like rich content services, RCS. So those are kind of alternative to SMS, but much richer, that enable us to build much richer experience within a message. So for example, most of your listeners know, they send WhatsApp, you can embed images, pictures, videos, and so forth. With that, now all of these messaging are also building something that they call extensions or mini apps. So you can do payments, you can have catalogs, you can have forms. So basic building blocks. And what this will enable us in messaging is to build experiences within messaging channels that are equivalent to experiences we would have in a mobile app or very close to those experiences. So just recently, partnering with Uber, we managed to together with them and WhatsApp build an ability for users to order Uber directly from WhatsApp in India. So having said all that I said, just to summarize, I think what's ahead of us is this whole conversational experience where we will have customer journeys or customer interactions end-to-end replicated within messaging channels. And people will be able not only to chat to businesses like they chat to their friends, but also to interact with businesses and execute various things, from ordering things to renewing contracts to following their orders through registering customer support ticket. And we are seeing a whole movement in this direction, and I believe it will continue. And that's kind of in the near-term future.
And Neil, as the guy that sent that first message those 30 years ago, I'm curious, what have you seen since you sent that first message, and how do you see the future evolving?
Well, when I sent that first message, I mean, at that time, all you could do was receive a message. You couldn't send one. It took another year or so for you to be able to send a message from a phone. And then we saw that whole thing come with ringtones and little graphics, and then text messaging was enhanced to do things like carry binary data and long messages. But as far as what's ahead, I mean, business wise, I mean, Ivan's the one to speak on that, about the future of what businesses are going to do. But I feel as a regular person, text messaging is going to pretty much stay the same for a lot of us, because when you've just got to tell your buddy that I'll be at the pub in 5 minutes, you don't need anything fancy, or like star wipes and a soundtrack on it to do that. You just want to convey a few words in that's quite short. And I mean, that kind of sums up what it's called. It's called SMS. It's the short message service, right? It's good for sending short messages as well, just for people.
100%. And Ivan, the last time we spoke, I think, was in June, and you told me about Infobip became the first Croatian company to reach unicorn status. So I've been keeping up to speed with what you've been doing. I read your purchase of global voice over internet protocol provider Peerless Network. Can you expand on that, what you've been doing the last 6 months, and ultimately what these acquisitions mean for your customers?
Yeah, so we always pride ourselves that we're engineering companies, so we like to build things up. But in order to build solid things, you need to have a strong infrastructure. So essentially, what we've done with Peerless is dominantly focused on United States, a little bit UK. So we've acquired voice infrastructure that is extremely solid and strong. So on top of that, we are going to build abilities to use this voice infrastructure through a simple API and do various things like, for example, hiding your number when you're calling a delivery person so that they cannot call you back. Integrate, so similar experience like you have with Uber and so forth. So that's a little bit the rationale behind the voice. And we will now start building on top of this voice, first of all, this voice API, and then more of the application layer where you can deploy strong voice capabilities that we have. I think, having said that, what we were doing is there was a couple of areas. So we are really kind of going to become, I would say figuratively, spider in the web, where we are in the center of the communication ecosystem, and a lot of people work with us to enable their end customers to benefit. So we are working with a lot of platform companies that are building MarTech on top of our platform, that are automating marketing flows and so forth, and we are powering them with various channels. And one area that we were working strongly is how do we cater better to these customers? So building some software solutions that they can integrate, building on our channel, or platformizing further platform that we have at hand, so providing analytics and so forth. The other area that we were working strongly was in an enterprise segment. We went very deep within the channels, messaging channels, to enable them to execute various, what you would call, use cases across their customer journey within messaging channels. So, if you are a telco company that want to send an offer to extend a contract to a person, in the past, you would typically either send an SMS or an email, then they needed to log in to a website, choose their phone, choose their extension contract, and that would take like a long time with a lot of drop-offs. For example, we built that end-to-end customer journey within chat apps. So, you can send immediately the offer. They can choose the phone and the contract without exiting the chat app, and they can transact, meaning pay or, order phone and get an invoice with their next bill. So we are going into these verticals and enabling various use cases like the one I described. And then the final thing is we were working on a much more scalable digital self-service model for very small companies. So they can purchase communication APIs or some software without talking with a single person if they don't desire to do so. So those were some big things that we were working. But I think we're very excited with this conversational UI trend, the middle part, and also enabling other platforms to build on our infrastructure and our solutions and bring some valuable solutions to their customers. So really kind of put communication into action.
And you guys have been incredibly busy. I think you also acquired US messaging heavyweight OpenMarket, the world's #1 SMS firewall provider, and also the developer Shift Conference franchise. How do all these fit together? Can you expand on those announcements and any other pertinent announcements that you might have under your sleeve too?
Yeah, so I think it actually fits in these three slices that I spoke about. So in principle, OpenMarket is a very similar logic to Peerless. So we acquired very powerful SMS messaging infrastructure in the United States, which enabled us to really kind of expand in the United States much stronger. And we see very beneficial results from this acquisition. We actually managed to create a lot of value together because then we combined our solutions that go on top of messaging with this infrastructure, and customers love it. I think Anam is a similar story because, one of the key things in messaging space, whether these are chat apps or SMS, is the security. You don't want people to send you fraudulent messages, or you don't want to receive spam. And so Anam provides firewalls that can turn off sources of fraud or spam at the source by telco providers, and they have various analytics or advanced analytics algorithms that can detect source of fraudulent traffic and stop them. So that's another investment in strengthening the infrastructure. And then, we need also people who are not in Infobip to work on our infrastructure and build things further. And those are developers. So Shift Conference acquisition was attempt to tap in a more accelerated way to developer community. And so that team is helping us now scale our developer community. And also, they're doing that partly through the Shift conferences, but also they have various other activities. So those are a couple of things. I think in the same spirit, we also acquired a media outlet called Netokracja. And that media outlet actually is supposed to write a lot of content for developers and also help us with some content for a broader audience in the area of omnichannel communication and clouds communication. So those are some things. I think we're very targeted in our acquisitions. We're not buying markets. We are buying things where we can find synergies and build on. And I think with that philosophy, those were the four. And I think we'll continue like this. And I think when it comes to announcement, I can just say that, we are forging multiple partnerships with chat app providers where we are going deeper, and we're trying to help our customers to transition to these conversational experiences that I was talking, so they can move large parts of their businesses. As a fact, we just had an announcement for an airline that they will stop their call center as a call center, and the whole customer support will be on chat apps. And that has some benefits because it's going to be 24/7. Some of these parts will be very fast because it's automated through more intelligent bots. And some other parts will go through either chatting with a human or even having a call, but the entry points will be various chat apps, which will increase customer satisfaction as we've seen from numbers, but also reduce costs. So those are some exciting things that we'll be kind of expanding on in terms of the applications. I think in terms of the acquisitions, I kind of gave you a solid overview, I would say.
Yeah, and for me, it's not just the acquisitions. I think it's also the partnerships, because I think you've got partnerships with Meta, Uber, BT, Vodafone, etc. Is there anything around that you can share? I appreciate you might not be able to go into too much detail, but is there anything you can?
No. Yes, I mean, Meta as a very important communication channel. I was just in India recently. They have hundreds of millions of users there. It's becoming a very important medium for businesses to interact with people. So we are really partnering as a complement to Meta's channel to enable businesses to develop use cases across the customer journey and shift to conversational experiences. And we are also having, various elements of these partnerships, whether on marketing side, doing things together on go-to-market side, and so forth. Then we have a number of other tech partnerships with companies like WhatsApp. So Google is, for example, also trying to enter same space with their channel. Viber in a similar way. Then we also have partnerships with other tech companies, like one of them is Microsoft, especially with Microsoft Dynamics, because when people have a CRM, they also want to communicate from that CRM in a pretty automated way. As a fact, actually, they want to program a customer journey for a customer around the data that they have and execute on that journey. So we are also partnering with Microsoft Dynamics. And then telcos are our dear partners. Both we are their customers, but also partners in multiple ways. So, we actually get some capacity for businesses to send SMS through telcos. But at the same time, we also help telcos to transform their own customer journeys. And finally, we also do some business together in terms of telcos are very interested in some of the software solutions we have for their own customers. So in principle, we are really kind of now expanding on this platform and having partners in various categories, other channels, either telco partners or tech companies that can expand utility of our infrastructure and our tech stack and our software solutions by bringing that closer to their customers, or building on top of our solutions to create like 1 + 1 is 3 in terms of value and deliver higher value to their customers.
And Neil, obviously you said you're a cloud guy now, and to be more precise, you're senior cloud practice architect at Onica by Rackspace Technology. So can you tell me a little bit more about your focus at the moment and also your relationship with Infobip?
I think I mentioned before that I kind of shifted out of telecoms into doing cloud-based stuff. Yeah. I realized a few years ago, once I was out of work for a while, and I looked at telecoms, and to me, telecoms looked like one of those industries that was being sewn up by all the big names. And where I was living in Montreal, it was not so easy to get a job doing what I'd done before. So I kind of looked ahead to say, like, what's the next big thing? And while I was out of work, I'd been tinkering with things like I think at the time in Canada, Alexa had come out, but you couldn't buy Alexa in Canada. So I looked online and I bought a Raspberry Pi. I've always been a tinkerer with electronics and little computers and that kind of thing. And I built a Raspberry Pi based Alexa with the express intent of like trying to get a job at Amazon and kind of dropping into the conversation. Oh, I made one kind of thing. And I did that. I tried, but they needed people like to work in specific places like Toronto and Vancouver, and we weren't doing work at home back then. But over that next kind of like 6 months, I kept getting these email updates, like because I'd opened an AWS account, and it's like, wow, this stuff is really cool. Like, wow, you can do all of that, and it's all in the cloud. And so I decided, like, this is going to be my next big thing. I'm gonna study, like, with my time off. I'm gonna make a project with a Raspberry Pi and a camera and environmental sensors and that kind of stuff, and work on certification. And I got an AWS certification, and I went along and found a company that was based out of Vancouver, a company called Trinimbus that later became Onica, and spoke to those guys, and they gave me a shot. I started working on cloud-based stuff, and it's ever since then it's just something I've loved working on. The technology is exciting. There's just you can't keep up with everything that they do. There's new features all the time. You can't know it all. And my big thing has always been, for me, like, to enjoy your job, you've got to learn something new every day. Yeah. And this is just what I keep doing, and it keeps my interest in it, and it excites me. And I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to do that with them.
Apologies for interrupting the interview, but this podcast is brought to you by Flipper, the #1 marketplace to buy and sell online businesses and startups. So my quick question to you is, do you own or run your own online business? And have you ever considered selling your site, your store, your tech, or your app? Well, with world-class combined matching technology, dedicated brokers and end-to-end services, all at the most efficient price, Flipper makes selling your online business simple. So to get a free valuation, simply visit flipper.com/techtalks, where each month thousands of online business owners exit with Flipper. Again, to learn more, visit flipper.com/techtalks. But now back to the interview. And a quick question for both of you here, because you're both talking to lots of customers and internal meetings with your colleagues, etc. And I'm curious, are there any big key themes or trends in the kind of conversations you're having both internally and externally, and the kind of challenges that you're kind of overcome? And Neil, I'll throw that to you first. Are there any big topics right now that you're noticing in those meeting rooms and client calls, etc.?
Well, people are always they're trying to shift their stuff often from their own internal data centers into the cloud, and that's most of what we do. And then trying to do that, like not in a lift and shift way where you got a server in your own data center and a server running a database, and you're looking after Linux and a database, as opposed to like using cloud native services to avoid all that, having to manage a server and patching and updates, to then go and use a cloud-based version of your database where all that's kind of like handled for you. And, a lot of customers see the benefit with that. And, but sometimes there are others that just want to do it the way they've done it because that's how they've always done it. But I think most see the benefit in it. And, it's good to see them invest the time and the effort to make it much easier for themselves in the future. But I'm not on the business side of negotiating the stuff. Normally, by the time I get to do it, I'm the one that's gets to implement the solution. Which, honestly, at the moment, that's the bit I love the most. Doing the kind of like it's like being back in the day when we did that first text message. I was 22 and I was like I was a coder, so. That's always the fun part, right? When you get into design and especially architecture, which is what I did for years, you miss coding because it's such, you look down at your keyboard at 9 o'clock and you look up and it's dark. It's like, wow, where did the day go? It's the fun part of the job, and I'm sure many coders and implementers can echo that and feel the same way.
Yeah, and I think once you've got that bug and you enjoy looking at what goes on under the hood, that stuff will never leave you. It really won't. And Ivan, I'm curious, from the client calls that you're having on the business side of things, are there any trends that you're noticing around challenges?
Well, let's talk about opportunities and challenges. I think when it comes to challenges, I think with the volumes, that are coming, people are looking at the stability, at the capacity of what you can let through, telco infrastructure in the unit of time. Of course, also at the cost. I think other big challenge that people are looking at is also security. There was a lot of spam and fraud. And also you read in the press that various companies have problems with fake accounts. These are all often caused by bots. So those are kind of things. So security is one big issue, especially in this context. And then a couple of the things that I just mentioned before. When it comes to opportunity, everybody's excited about this conversational opportunity. How can I make my business more efficient using messaging? How can I free up time from people to do more creative things? How can I make better customer experiences by utilizing something that's there 24/7? And those are the most exciting things at the moment we're using. And then, with kind of more penetration of messaging comes also interesting questions about how can we use analytics and artificial intelligence to automate some of these things.
And if we zoom out for a moment and then add the recent acquisitions, the partnerships, how are all of this collectively helping you address all these challenges?
Yeah, so I think, we have so-called full stack platform, which means I like that Neil is now in a cloud space. So we are really cloud first company, and we started with like infrastructure. We have 40 data centers, then everything in the cloud, and then very simple interface for companies to operate and integrate the channels just using simple APIs from the cloud, not needing to worry about servers, not needing to worry about infrastructure. So, as first, we offer scalability, we offer huge capacity, we offer a great platform that has a great prioritization algorithms and can handle large capacity. Just on this Black Friday, we had more than 1.5 billion messages or so. So in one day, and there was no problem, a single problem with the platform. And there was a little bit of a problem with capacity of network, but that got solved very fast by the mobile operators. So all I'm just trying to say is, even with that part, we are addressing first part of the story. The second part is with such a strong platform and such a strong infrastructure, you can start building various things on top of it. So we are building some SaaS solutions that will enable businesses to capitalize on this opportunity to go more conversational. But our partners are also building on top of our platform, and we are forming an ecosystem. So if you need to go to a given vertical, let's say, behavior to do behavioral modification to help patients in the healthcare arena, there's probably a partner that has better algorithms and logic than we do and can do that. But then at the same time, they will utilize some of the channels, and we might provide them some of the software tools that'll make their solutions more effective. So that's kind of the other part. We are working either alone or in partnerships to address the opportunities to help businesses transition a large part of their business into conversational channels.
And of course, we are approaching the time of year where everyone's starting to think about what's going to dominate 2023, what technology is going to be a big hit, how a trend's going to evolve throughout the year. And as you're both in the tech industry, I want to ask you both this question. And Neil, to begin with, are there any tech trends that excite you on the road ahead? And what's your big focus going to be in 2023?
I don't really follow tech trends that much in terms of, what's coming next. I'm kind of a bit old school, and I could almost still deal with a standard phone rather than an iPhone. I'm not a big user of that, but I don't think I'm looking ahead really. I'm just happy with things the way they are really.
Oh, I love it. No problem at all. Nothing wrong in that at all. It's better than just jumping on the next big thing, is what we see a lot of the time now. But Ivan, anything that excites you? Any tech trends you're monitoring?
I actually do look at the trends. We need to do it for business from a strategic perspective. I'll go fast through them. I actually thought a lot about that. We are in a customer interaction, customer experience space. So I'll just tell you kind of my favorite 5 without elaborating too big. So first of all, there are trends that are happening all the way down on the infrastructure layer. Then there are trends that are happening on the application layer, and then on the customer experience. So on the infrastructure layer, I think there is much more composable tech in the cloud. And this tech is flexible. So what I mean by that, you can use simple APIs to combine solutions from multiple vendors, which are already pre-integrated. So you can just get to a very powerful, customized stack for your business without much effort. So what would 5 years ago take you like army of consultants, hundreds and hundreds for a couple of years, and like huge infrastructure spend, now you can do it in a matter of months. And so we are going much more in this composable tech space where you'll be able to combine different cloud vendors, different APIs to build your own stack. So that's on the infrastructure layer. On the application layer, I see 2 big trends. One is hyper automation, much more intelligent bots, not only in the area of text, but also voice, even video, with deepfake and so forth, which will lead to more automation of transactional tasks. I think humans will always be in equation, but they can focus on the things that they do well, emotions, higher cognitive tasks, and transactional things we can outsource to machines. So that's one area. The other area is further development of applied artificial intelligence, so they can do hyper personalization for customers, understanding your preferences. So next time when you come and do conversation with the business, they can continue where you left it off last time. So that's on the application layer. And then on the customer experience layer, I think there are two things. One is this whole movement to conversational user interfaces. So like conversational commerce, where you can, transact and order things within single channel. I already spoke about this today. And then the final one there, I think we'll see more and more confluence of, physical, virtual space like VR, AR, and messaging. So some of the companies are, for example, building an ability to map the full store in 3D and know where the customer is. Imagine now if you combine that with some VR goggles that give you like interesting information about the products you're looking at or technology. And then at the same time, you have messaging. So if you know somebody is looking at something, you can send a discount code that will induce them to buy something or to try something. Or, you can send some education through messaging. And that kind of confluence of various channels in the real world, not only in the digital world, I think we will start seeing much more and more. So those are my 5 favorites: composable tech, hyperautomation, applied artificial intelligence, conversational user interfaces, and then confluence of physical and digital experiences into hybrid experiences.
Wow, so much to leave us thinking about there. But before I let you go, there's something I always like to have a little bit of fun with my guests before I let you go. So I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with either a book that means something to you, or you can recommend it. We'll add to our Amazon wish list, or a great song, tune, track, whatever you want to call it, that we can add to our Spotify playlist. All I'm going to ask is what you're going to leave us with and why. And Neil, I'll throw that one to you first.
Okay, well, I'm not much of a book reader. But I do like trance music. So although I might be a bit old for it, it's my favorite style of music. And often what I find is I really annoy my kids because I love to play trance music really loud on a Friday afternoon, which kind of for me runs down the week, like the last hour, like between 4 and 5 o'clock. I like to turn up my favorite tunes and finish my coding for the week and do my timesheet and everything. And it just sees me out nicely. And then I can kind of disconnect from that VPN and then walk away thinking, that's it. The weekend has started. So one of the songs that I regularly listen to is Battleground by Craig Connolly. He's mixes trance music. So that would be my choice.
Well, let me just say, you're never too old for trance music, or in fact, any kind of EDM music. Especially, I spend a lot of my time writing articles, etc., and that's the kind of music I have on in the background. Because as soon as you put lyrics in there and things, then I start getting losing concentration. So I completely get that. And Ivan, what are you going to leave us with today?
This song, nobody probably in kind of a Western world will know except your Indian listeners. And this song is called, I think, Caceria. And the reason why I recommend this song, I was just it's a Hindi song, very kind of popular at the moment. And I was just doing 2 weeks trip to India. So I was very, very impressed with what I'm seeing there. I mean, India wants to grow from 3 trillion to 5 trillion economy. And while the country still a bit struggles with physical infrastructure, the digital infrastructure is amazing because, wherever I went, I had a 4G network and people are now connected. All of them, they have a chat apps. I think I spoke to somebody in Indian stock market. They told me at the moment, 7% of Indian population is investing and only 0.5% are more active traders. The rest is people investing through the funds. They expect that number to double in the next 2-3 years. So given, huge respect and impression I have about India and where it can go, especially with also such a strong immigration outside of India in a business community, I just want to leave you with that song because that song I was listening in the car as some friends were playing. It was very popular. So that it reminded me on this. So that's why I wanted to leave you with that
No,
it's a peaceful country that actually is focusing now on its own development, and we're starting to see some great things. So maybe song can serve as a memory to this.
Awesome. That's absolutely brilliant choice. I love how you're both adding a little bit of class to the playlist there and not going for the safe option. So a big thank you to both of you. And for anyone listening that would like to connect with you, Neil, is there anywhere you'd like to point them, whether it be LinkedIn or a website or something?
LinkedIn is the best bet. I'm sorry to say it, but I think it was for the 20th anniversary, I created this website that had a contact page. And if you go look at it now, it's like something from the 1980s when they didn't have websites. So and the contact link is broken. So it's a horrible page. It served its purpose 10 years ago. It's out of date, but LinkedIn is usually the best way to do it.
Awesome. I'll add a link to your LinkedIn page. And Ivan, anyone wanting to find out more information about Infobip, anything we talked about today, or contact your team, can you just remind everyone of the best starting point for that?
Well, if it's me, then it's LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Infobip is website, and then there will be a lot of contacts. But I think we are humble engineers down to earth, so please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn.
Love that line, humble engineers. A big thank you to both of you for coming on today, sharing your work, your passions, your excitement for the industry. And I'd love how far you've both come here and getting quite reflective, thinking about that 30th anniversary of SMS, also feeling a little bit old as well, because I remember those days very well, and the GeoCity days. But that's a topic for another day. But thank you to both of you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Neil.
Wow, we covered so much in a short amount of time there, didn't we? With everything from the story behind the sending of the first ever SMS message, to the recent acquisitions at Infobip and the partnerships they've got with Meta, Uber, BT and Vodafone. So I cannot thank both guests enough for coming on here and sharing their stories with me and the great work that they're doing. And if you've got a story you'd like to share, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can sit down with me and come on the podcast and we'll have a good chat together. Or you can send me a DM, an audio message on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for @NeilC.Hughes. And my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. You'll find links to 2,200 podcast interviews. And you can also send me an email, techblogwriter@outlook.com. There are many, many options. I'm the easiest guy in the world to get hold of. So keep your messages coming in. And I also invite you to join me again tomorrow, where I've got another great guest lined up. So a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.